Hello, welcome back to Chinese Contenders Season 3. This is day 2 of week 4, so we are heading towards that playoff stage right now. All we do have for you now is a game between T1W and Zoo. This might be a bit of a Jurassic stomp here, Albion.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, ZOO stands for the Zenith of Optimism. But I'm not very optimistic for them. They're going to get stomped. Zenith of Optimism, I do believe, is 0-12 in maps right now. Yes, they are. They are, in fact, 0-12 in maps. They have yet to win a single map. And T1W, on the flip side, is 12-0 in maps. T1W is very likely going to be the winners of this season. So it does make a lot of sense that we kind of anticipate them to win this series. But realistically, this is just a chance for T1W to take first place in the group right now. Because currently, Team CC yesterday only managed to win with a 3-2, so they actually dropped their perfect record. So if T1W either ties 2 maps and wins the other 2, or 3-1s or 4-0s, or several different situations, they end up with first place seed going into their match against CC in week 5. So realistically, this is about T1W kind of locking down the first place seed for playoffs.
It was a good series that we saw yesterday for Team CC as well as, but yeah, unfortunately do drop a couple of maps there. Now we're going to have T1W come into this one. And like you said, this could be their moment to, well, I say could be, but you know what I mean, to take the top of the group. And this is almost like their free win. I don't want to say free win because Zoo have done some weird stuff before, right, Scrap?
Yeah, I think that this is definitely kind of like one of those things which even depends on what Zoo throws out. I think that Zoo can throw a lot of different looks in terms of confusing T1W, but at the core of this, T1W is this team that runs these crazy comps. I mean, they were the first team to really bring quad DPS. So maybe they're expecting this and they would rather play this matchup. I think the big thing
weird versus weird, right?
Yeah, but I think the big thing about T1W here is really how they decide to bring in Mija into this entire thing, and also if they choose to bring an assassin at all during this series. I think this is the one weakness that T1W does have. I think getting Mija up to scale in terms of Zarya play is going to be a big challenge, and the fact that they're willing to practice it against big time opponents means that I'm looking very optimistically for them. But Assassin's always been a weird part on this roster. Even last year when they had Crystal still in the lineup, Assassin, despite being this hit scan kind of like specialist, wasn't really brought in as much. So it feels weird that he's still on this lineup, because I think there's definitely a lot of perspective that can be used. For example, if they do need that Widow, they do need a McCree or something like that, maybe you bring Assassin in. But at the same time, it kind of feels like he hasn't really picked up a Zarya. He's not exactly the strongest pick in that department. So if they do bring him into this map, I want to see how they use him.
Yeah, definitely. Go on, Albert.
And it will be actually really interesting between these two teams, though, kind of how the swaps go. Because we've noted that in weeks past, Zoo, one of their weaknesses they haven't swapped sometimes. They've stayed on kind of these losing comp matchups. And that's always been a weakness for them. But T1W, weirdly enough, has kind of become a more standard team the last couple of weeks. They started playing a lot of tanks. So it'll be interesting if T1, like Scribe mentioned, wants to keep bringing in Micha and getting him Zarya experience in an official match, right? Against maybe not the greatest opponent, but practice is practice, and kind of prepare to play the tank matchup that we're kind of anticipating between T1 and CC now next week.
Yeah, we saw that matchup between T1W and LGE where we thought T1W, they're going to come into this one, they're going to play some DPS, might be heavily oriented towards that side, and then they just go, no way, we'd only play tanks now, and they completely crushed that matchup, and we did not see that coming anywhere at all as being not as close as it was, right, Scrub?
Yeah, I think that this is kind of a real easy way for T1W to kind of make a greater statement here, right? Because last week, Lincoln Esports, I mean, we're talking about this. This is arguably one of a top 3 team potentially, and getting rolled by T1W kind of shows exactly how big that distance is. So T1W, I think this new low T1W that is playing a lot of 3-3, it's very intimidating, because if you look at their DPS matchup, right, if you do force them to go something else, right, force them to try to flex off, maybe try to match up damage-wise, they have a great way to do this. They have great Pharah players, great Sombra players, and I think they honestly have a pretty solid Doomfist player as well. So this is a great way for them to show exactly what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what we got here now is our first map, right? It's going to be Ilios, so we're going to be heading over to those Greek Isles right now. So we'll hand this one over to our lovely casters, who will be Rapture. And not Kenobi today, it will be Lafon jumping in instead. And it's great to see this guy around. So hand it back over to you guys. Take it away.
Thanks, Blank. Welcome, Overwatchers, to Week 4, Day 2 of Overwatch Contenders China, Season 3, 2018. It's the English coverage brought to you by Broadcast.gg. I am Rapture here with Lafon this morning, not Kenobi, Lafon. Lafon, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good one. Ilios, so, Gotta get it going. I have to say, it's being really exciting to be able to see China for the first time in person directly on cast. I'm really looking forward to this, Rapture. We are going to have a good one here. T1W, Zenith of Optimism. It is going to be Ruins on Ilios. And we're going to start off immediately with everyone's favorite composition from Zenith of Optimism.
Yeah, no surprise here coming on Ruins. Of course, if you're all just joining us, as the desk mentioned, T1W, one of the favorites in this group, 3-0, 12-0 in maps. Zoo, of course, not doing very well. They've taken losses to Team CC, TSL, and Lingon. This should certainly be one of their hardest matchups of the season so far. Let's see what they can do against T1W. Running Assassin on the Widowmaker, which has been a common choice for them throughout the season. And Silver 3 leading the pack here on the Winston, making it hard for the Zenith of Optimism squad to kind of get out of dodge, but McCoy doesn't get that kill on High B, and already Zoo has gotten control of the point here, LaFon.
They do have early control, but it's not going to last for very much longer. This is a bit of a play by T1W. Molanran being charged away does get taken very low and out at the last, but this was a calculated play by T1W. They want to, give up the point early, but they're going to get control afterwards. They're willing to trade early point percentage for actual point control, and as Assassin gets the final cleanup here, Rapture, this is going to pretty much be T1W starting off their control for a lot longer than Zenith of Autism ever could.
Yeah, absolutely the right move here for T1W. They get the fight that actually matters, so they'll certainly surpass Zoo in that percent charge so far and getting close to it. Meanwhile, Waya sitting on that Transcendence in Silver 3 does have the Primal Rage ready to go. So T1W already ahead here against Zoo on the ultimate charge rate. If we get a quick pick here from Assassin, they'll get things kicked off. But Illusion with a nice right click on Zelta and a 5v4 situation with T1W. Silver's going to push that with the tail end of that Primal Rage, getting a kill on Cloudy. And again, Zoo sent back to spawn without very little to show for it.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that's we didn't get a chance to see it in first person, unfortunately, but I guarantee you that fight was pretty hilarious up close. The Primal Rage actually got 2 kills off the knockoff, and then, of course, a boot to just finish it all off. The cleanup is there, of course, and T1W now firmly in the driver's seat. They do have support ultimates coming online. The rally will be here very shortly, so Zenith of Optimism, not a whole lot to work with. Tank ultimates are going to have to be massive here.
And when Zelta going super low as a self-destruct coming out from Umi, not going to find pay dirt. Zenith of Optimism going to be forced to use Lazy Sound Barrier to try and prolong this fight. Cody finding the kill in Silver 3, but the one winner has really slowed things down. Zelta with popping the Transcendence as they push up onto the point. Zoo having a majority of players on the point, but they're all sucked up into the Graviton. As a result, an Illusion going to find Zelta. No follow-ups otherwise on that grab coming out from Molanran. But T1W still able to trade consistently here with Zoo as they're popping the rest of their ultimates. They still have Assassins to be able to pop their Widowmaker ult. That's not going to make too much of a difference here. So they do get that pick onto Makoyo, and then Cloudy going around with the DMAC, and then Assassin for a third one. I wish we had seen it on camera. It looked like that did pay off that ultimate for Assassin. T1W firmly holding on to the point here, and we'll take this first round Ilios.
97%. The contest is going to come in here, and no, it won't actually. The control point will end up in T1W's favor, and that's just absolutely brilliant play rather from T1W. What we're seeing here so far is a team that's honestly just better. T1W, they're willing to give ground. That's the mark of a really good team. You don't have to always be, in complete control of the point so long as you're accruing percentage. And T1W, what they do is they're like, okay, sure, we'll allow you to sort of ingress upon us, get a little, maybe even get that first pick off. But then what's going to happen is we're going to force you to use ultimates early, get no value from them. They use the Earthshatter, Sound Barrier, Self-Destruct, all to no kills. And then T1W comes in with the later support ultimates and finds value right after that. So T1W right now are in the driver's seat very firmly. Zoo are going to have to play a little bit more aggressively, honestly, to try and force T1W to just make a mistake. And T1W right now just hasn't made a single mistake so far.
I think one of the scariest things here, LaFon, is Molanran, who's considered usually the star player of T1W, is certainly quiet, just, calmly doing work on the Zarya last round. Now on the Pharah, one of their trademark players, one of the trademark characters, and gets 2 immediately, one off the boob on the Cloudy and another Makoyo. And that's going to be starting things off strong for T1W off that. 4 picks and the rest reset, and Zoo obliterated already in the first fight.
I wouldn't call the opposite of a caster curse, because that just happened right there. You call out Molanran and immediately shows up, gets a double kill with the concussive blast. Zenith of Optimism, man. Yeah, it's a tough one here. T1W are again still going to be very firmly in control. You win a fight so cleanly, and you don't even need to talk about things like ultimate economy because the fight's already over, and Molan Ryan going to engage very aggressively Rapture as they're trying to keep this one going.
Yep, so much room to work with here for Molan is going to fall back as Zoo's going to push up on this bottom left side here, but of course they're clumping up again. We saw last time that set them up perfectly for a bunch of ultimates, and Molan certainly going to be swooping in for a barrage soon, but Assassin has an EMP, so if Zoo commits, they're going to be unable to get out of dodge. Now Hybe gets the kill on Makoyo. Molan has the barrage. Cloudy right-clicks Assassin. 5v5 situation until Wyatt finds a kill on Cloudy. 5v4. Molan has the opportunity. Looks to lose on the Zarya and will kill Nanhai, but that's it. Umi will clean up the Pharah on the tail end of the barrage. And T1W just trading evenly here. It works out. They're in control of the point, so why not? Zoo doesn't have any opportunity to steal it away from him, so T1W can evenly trade here. They're going to be popping support ultimates, prolong this fight as long as possible. And not only that, they're still coming out on top. Zoo just cannot find these kills.
I want to talk about the fact that Waya was actually pressured no less than 3 different times in that last fight and didn't die. Not only did he not die, but on top of that, actually didn't even have to use Transcendence. The peel from T1W for the support line has been absolutely insane, and Zoo just frankly haven't found any opportunity to get to that backline without actually suffering losses of their own. And now even Nanhai hasn't even built that Graviton Surge yet, and we're up to that 90% mark almost, and Zoo are still losing players, so they are in just a very dire straits towards the end of here of Ilios. Molan, they're gonna have to make something of this trade.
Yeah, Molan going in super deep there with the barrage, sacrificing themselves. And T1W don't control the point. Hybe trying to pressure off the tank line of Zoo as Nanhai is going to move in here with the Graviton soon enough. Silver 3 though picks off 2. Uses the Primal Rage to get out with 67 HP and survives. Hybe almost picking up the kill on the Bree, forcing the self-destruct to try and get back to the fight quickly. Is not picked off as they're out of the cockpit, so it works out. Molan coming right back into the fight off that barrage kill. It was definitely worth it to switch over to the Tracers. They pick up 2 kills, overtime ticking away, and there it is. T1W taking Ilios with a 2-1 scoreline, 2-0 scoreline.
2-0 scoreline. I mean, it's as clean as you like. The only thing that T1W didn't do is they gave up, I think, something like 11 or 29% on Ruins. They were perfect on Lighthouse. That's pretty much all you can ask for. I think I want to highlight a small little cool play from Silver 3, though. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he uses the self-destruct, get a little bit more airtime, and then jumps right back in the fight after picking up the Mega Health Pack. Just a little cool aside there, you know. You don't always get to see that in first person, but we got it there. So T1W very, very, very firmly in control here, as we expected, honestly. This is one of those matchups where we can talk all we like about storylines and how teams sort of play off against each other, but sometimes you have a team that's just better running up against a team that's not. And for T1W, that is one of these games. And for them, their job here is just to make sure that they're not losing fights, they're not losing engagements. It's all about just being the better team all the way through the Night Rapture. And at least now, this has been a good start for them.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like, at least for match 1, T1W might be the stronger team. Already a strong start, a 2-0 victory on Ilios to kick things off. Don't go anywhere, folks. We still have some more maps on the way. Some more Overwatch Contenders China Season 3 2018, Week 4, Day 2 coming your way here on Broadcast.gg. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Overwatchers. It is week 4, day 2, match number 2, and we're still kicking things, or at least we're still getting into things. It's Numbani for map 2 of this matchup of T1W versus Zoo. Now, T1W won control pretty convincingly against Zoo. So, Lafon coming into Numbani, what does Zoo got to do to get back into this?
I think the easiest thing to say is just aggression, but that kind of underselling it because Zoo did not do so hot on Ilios. I think they need to kind of rethink their structure and strategy. They play everything slowly, and T1W they're going to take advantage of that every single time. T1W are one of the better teams in this region, and it's kind of expected that they're going to do really well. But I think for Zoo, you have to take if you're not going for, the victory, which you should be, but if you're not, then you have to go for some sort of moral victory, I guess. And right now, Zoo just needs to play much faster. Everything, engage timings, selections of heroes. They make they're playing the heroes they want to, and they just take forever to get there. And they play, they're actually engage rotation really slowly. So I feel for Zoo, it's just be faster. It's kind of tough to describe what that actually means without seeing it. But T1W are just a little cleaner on their execution. Zoo needs to do something similar, and playing this attack round, we're gonna get the first look at that.
And on the defensive side, T1W making the substitution. Assassin coming out for Michia, who's on the Doomfist now, their go-to Doomfist player. So on defense, running the Doomfist Pharah, pretty common here in Chinese contenders. Zoo running this very mobile composition, just rushing the high ground here. Mullen on the Pharah though, just dumping Pharah rockets right into Zoo here. They have a ton of ult charge, almost at a full barrage within 30 seconds, and Zoo just feeling the brunt of it. Nowhere to run. 2 direct shots, 2 direct kills, and Molinar looking to clean up the Winston. Cloudy takes him out, but Silver 3 will get revenge. At least pick up their target in the meanwhile. And T1W, convincing fight win, and they chew off about a minute of Zoo's time.
The one thing that if you're Zoo, you can take sort of, I guess, solace in is that you got first 2 kills in that fight. The only problem is T1W actually brought that one back off the back of some pretty good play from Molan Run, but the tanks for T1W just placing themselves pretty well. Even though the Diva mech was lost, they actually kept the Orisa to contest and even give a point. The Barrage is going to come in right after Rapture, and
yeah, I would say a pretty suspect Mullen Run barrage, but it looks like the slack's being picked up by the remainder of T1W with the help of Illusion. Mullen Run rejoins the fray. Oh, and Cloudy burns an EMP, and that's pretty much unnecessary there. No follow-up. Umi also burning Minefield just to get some kills. Mullen Run and Michia will go down. They had the Lucio and the Diva, so it looks like it's actually going to pay off for Zoo. Burning both of those ultimates, the EMP hitting a few more players, and it looks like it did, even though there wasn't an immediate follow-up there. But now T1W rejoining. They're trying to stagger back in, but the defense and Spartans pretty far away. High B with the self-destruct. We'll be able to use that to stay on the point. And now with Michia and Molinar coming back in, it looks like the sustain from High B worked out enough and long enough for the remainder of T1W to rejoin the fight. Zoo is unable to sustain in these long, prolonged fights, and they are reduced to about 2 minutes left of the clock.
Zoo had pretty much everything going for them until the fight actually, went back. Hybe, you have to give credit there. The Diva contests point for so long. Not only that, doesn't lose mech, doesn't need to burn self-destruct, and ends up just staggering out long enough that, yeah, they gave up 2/3 of the point or so, but they end up holding. So, although they're engaging the self-destruct, okay, why? That's a little questionable for me.
Oh, and Michia going down very early too. Not sure entirely how T1W can get back into this with their damage dealers completely routed and losing their support so early, then Mercy going down as well. No reses. There it is. T1W kind of just losing a fight by having their key players stolen away from them before the fight really broke out.
You know what? I think that's I mentioned the very start of this map. Zoo needs to be decisive. And hey, they're right. They're decisive right there. They come in. That self-destruct finds Wyatt. I'm not sure how exactly the self-destruct comes over. The shield was in place. Maybe he just, underestimated how far it would fly. But it goes down, and then right after that, Cloudy comes in and actually just cleans house. Excellent work there with the Sombra, and it's really what they need to continue moving this point forward.
Yeah, and Zoo now has an opportunity to snowball here, burning the EMP. Going to use their support ultimates as well. And Cloudy breaking through with 2.5. Zelta's also going to steal one away with the Coalescence. And T1W being routed. Their support's also going to be staggered at the end of the fight here. And that means T1W losing control of the payload even further. Zoo still walking in. T1W will be able to recontest, but they only have one ultimate to do so.
But I mean, if you're T1W, you're kind of okay with that. It's a pretty
Yeah.
dry fight on your side. You don't use anything. Zenith of Optimism, they'll use everything. They use EMP, they use Beat, and they use Coalescence. They use everything they have in their bank, so you're okay with that. You give up, some part on Streets phase, and you're going to come back in with this next fight. So I think for T1W, they're okay with that.
And there's a disruption from Umi coming down with a pile driver, but Illusion snaps back, find Makuo. And the Reinhardt going down early. That's their only barrier now. Nanhai now taking a ton of damage. Hybe's going to get that DMEC on Nanhai. Now Umi swinging around, finds the Zenyatta that is Waya. And Waya just reflects them back here. Oh, and a huge pin from downtown. Silver 3 catches Umi out of nowhere. And on the outside of that, 3 ultimates now built and a few more on the way for T1W.
Yeah, and this is what we kind of expected when we saw the fact what ultimates were on the board for both teams, right? Both teams come in with a dry fight, and neither team has to use ultimates. T1W or neither team can use ultimates realistically. T1W just win that one out pretty cleanly in that regard. So now this next fight here, Silver 3 has that Earth Shatter available.
Oh, and they just line up and they fall like dominoes there. Silver 3 cracking them with an Earth Shatter. Hybe and Michia immediately respond for 3 kills, and they shut down Zoo immediately.
Nanhai there used, I think, the bubble a little too early. The Shield Bash comes in from Molan Run, and if you're a Reinhardt, that's the freest shatter you're ever going to get. So T1W just cleaned it up off the back of the Bash Shatter, and now this is the case where T1W is just going to continue rotating ultimates, likely until they hold here.
Yeah, Michia's about to have Graviton, so the second Zoo steps out or tries to peek, they're going to get hit by that. Waya's been holding on to this Transcendence, and yeah, like you said, Zoo just really kind of getting bodied here, and T1W is going to continue to cycle these ultimates and make it hard for Zoo to climb back.
It's kind of like, not expected, but this area is actually a pretty annoying choke point. If you get caught in here, you have to burn ultimates to try and get out if, T1W are not going to allow them forward, but they're going to play a little bit more passively here as they try and get this Graviton Surge off.
Waya gonna jump right in, looking for the Graviton, finds it, gets 2, gets 3 that is, but no immediate follow-up there. Makoyo finds the Fire Strike and Mullen Run, 5v5 situation, then gets a few in this corner, starts swinging away, and a ton of kills. The kill feed going white here as T1W gets clumped up, and Zoo's tank line just starts running wild on them, and Cloudy using that EMP to help things out, certainly in their favor. Now T1W falling back, still has an opportunity to re-engage. They have the tools to do so, but Zoo getting closer and closer to the second checkpoint.
Illusion doesn't quite get hacked in time to get the sound barrier, or to prevent the sound barrier from getting off, but it doesn't really seem to matter as they contest the Graviton Surge here. Raptors, they continue in. Nope, the point was captured, but that took them so long. They have less than 2 minutes here on third to try and complete the map, and they have to use ultimates to keep breaking this one through. So T1W continue to pull ultimates out of Zenith of Optimism, even in losing fights, which is so massive, right? Like, if you don't need to use ultimates, you don't really want to, and unfortunately for Zoo, that just hasn't been the case entirely this match.
And now T1W is in a situation like we saw earlier. They can start cycling ultimates again. They're about to have 5. They just pop Rally on Mullen Run. Earth Shatter snuck in by Makoyo, picks up a couple on the other side of that payload, but then they charge in, and they're not supported at all. There's no bubble on them either. They get melted immediately. Michia finds that kill, and Zoo is forced to fall back. They lose Cloudy as well. And T1W, another fight win, and not burning a single ultimate.
I think the funniest part about that was that even though I think there were, 2 people knocked down behind that shatter of Makuo, they don't actually even need to burn support ultimates to defend themselves. And now they're just going to continue staying here to burn some more time off that clock. Now well below a minute, 30 seconds left in this round. Rapture and Zenith of Optimism have nothing except, the support ultimates to work with. They need to get this fight won right here.
Oh, that was unfortunate. Silver 3 turning around, gets booped up into the air, and then getting hit. And Mukoyo didn't have to burn Earth Shatter in that situation, so Zoo still has a way to engage going in. They also have Umi on that minefield, but they only have about 10 seconds remaining, 12 seconds now on the clock. They're going to push up aggressively here, but T1W is going to be able to rejoin.
They are, and for Zenith of Optimism, your win condition here has to be the tank ultimates. It's all you've got left, and T1W, they have stuff in the bank here.
Oh, yep, proactive Graviton comes out from Nanhai now. Makoyo lands an Earth Shatter. But the responding Earth Shatter from Silver 3 catching Zoo as they try to retreat behind the payload. Silver 3 now swinging away, has Zarya in their sights. Nanhai right-clicks themselves to death. And now Waya just throwing unrelenting damage here, looking like Colas in the previous set. No one's on them, unmitigated damage, has the Discords down, healing as well. Overtime ticking away. And T1W will deny Zoo the entire map completion, halting them at 2 points.
T1W, they just use, their ultimate second and get more value from it. If you're Zoo, you throw the Graviton Surge in, but the mines are too late. Then your Rhine plays up super aggro, and then there's just a free shatter available to Silver 3. To be fair, though, after Ilios, I was kind of wondering, will Zoo even take first point? So for Zoo to get to that third stage is actually pretty good for them. They do get it quite far, just shy of that completion mark. So for Zoo, there is win condition available. It's not like, they just threw away a map. And they made, there are bright spots. Cloudy was actually really impressive on the Sombra throughout this entirety of the set so far. And we're kind of seeing the replay here, a couple of those highlights of that Sombra gameplay. But, for Zoo, your defense is going to have to be stellar here if you don't want to go down, 0-2 at the half.
Yeah, exactly. Good will only suffice for so long, especially against a team at T1W. You can't really afford just be doing the bare minimum here. And Zoo now going to be changing things up ever so slightly. Like we saw, Cloudy doing a lot of work against those chunkier compositions T1W throwing at them, and being able to build up ult charge against those big health pools of the characters T1W picked. That all being said, was there anyone standing out for Zoo for you that you think we should keep our eyes on?
I mean, Cloudy on that Sombra has actually been a pretty big bright spot. Comes in pretty aggressively, does a lot of good work, and it's the flashy play, sure, but it's definitely the fact that this team does have talent on it, right? It's not like we're seeing a team that's just completely talentless, because they've got players that are capable of playing. So I think moments like that are always good to see. But for T1W, they're going to get scattered out here by Cloudy, as mentioned, on this Sombra, trying to get a little bit early, all charges. They sort of set up. T1W going to be running Goats comp. They're running the Winston, though, as that main tank, so a little bit more high ground contest.
And you can see there earlier how Umi was getting so aggressive. A lot of members of T1W getting caught in a pile drive that was followed up on by Non-High. They were able to pick up the kill early. I believe there was Molon run. And nonetheless, T1W still, not hesitating, but they are forced back to, have to rethink things here against Zoo, who are playing more aggressively than we saw in the previous phase of Numbani. And now T1W going to go for an upper left push here. Zoo getting a little too big for their britches. They decide to fall back, and T1W going to take the cue to move on to the point and trying to get some percentage in their way as they force Zoo off the point again. Silver 3 getting aggressive, a little too aggressive as Umi picks up the kill. Now Cloudy looking to clean up the rest of the tanks for T1W, harassing Michi on the Zarya, and now looking for the Lucio as well. Mwaya forced to use Transcendence, trying to prolong things, but Cloudy on the outside of that with an EMP catching a bunch of T1W right in their tracks. Non-High with the self-destruct, demecking High B, and Zoo is steamrolling T1W now off these ultimates.
This has been a much better showing from Zoo thus far. They used, it's going to be 2 people off the map. That's nice. Goodbye. But no, this has been a lot better from Zoo this far. They are more coordinated. They are more aggressive most of all. And they're actually making it so that T1W can't just, come in whenever they want. I think, though, that you're kind of seeing T1W. They're willing to take their losses. They're willing to reset. They're willing to give up even an ultimate or 2 to actually get better timing, to pull more out of Zoo than Zoo is willing to give. And right now, we see T1W going to be walking this fight with nigh on 5 ultimates here, and they're going to get first pick on top of it all.
Yeah, Cloudy going down early, and they're still so far away from an EMP as well. Losing time on that ultimate charge is certainly a huge loss for Zoo. And now Michio looking for the right opportunity to land a grab. But really, they're just looking for raw kills here without having to burn the ultimates. Okoyo on the Primal Rage gets blasted out by Michia, and now Umi taking a ton of damage. Hybe's going to steal the kill away. And look at that, just like I said, T1W on it. Doesn't even need to burn a single ultimate there to take the fight and the point on Zoo.
It's a tale of 2 teams, and right now they're going to continue this cleanup. There's going to be a late kill on Zelta. It's actually going to be a pretty huge delay as they're going to get free cart time here. They're going to keep pushing on these tanks, Raptor, trying to get the DMEC on the Diva, and they probably will do so, actually.
I'm not sure how the economy is doing. I think housing prices are low, but look at the real estate T1W is getting, just pushing so aggressively here. And now Zoo, they have to rethink things. It looks like they might want to get some high ground control, but already they're seeing T1W willing to put that pressure on.
The one thing that's good is that the Zoo were unable to really get a fight in, so they didn't actually have to use any ultimates. So 6 ultimates versus 4-ish or so for Zoo, maybe 5. The Primal Wage was committed in that last fight. So this next fight is going to be very explosive, and I think the T1W will likely try and use as few as possible, as they've tried the entire match, to sort of keep more in the bank. EMP committed early on from Cloudy.
I like that. You see T1W split up a little bit on the high ground and low ground, and then the immediately responding Transcendence from Waya on the offset of that EMP from Cloudy is the perfect response from T1W. They go right in, punish Zenith of Optimism being a little too aggressive, and now they have a 5v4 advantage. The self-destruct from Non-High, though, at least keeping Zoo in the fight for the meantime, but not very much they can do. Silver 3 just picking off these mines left and right, cleaving right through. And Zoo being separated here. T1W taking this 2v1s, 3v1s, trying to isolate members of Zoo. And now the tank line of Zoo trying to get back together, but as they do and they clump up, they take a ton of damage doing so. They get melted, and T1W should be able to get to the second checkpoint.
That minefield was an example of what I've been talking about all game long. Umi has to play it super passively, has to use it super defensively, prevent T1W from getting used. It uses it basically as a wall to prevent any sort of people walking into the backline of Zoo. But unfortunately, it becomes useless. And you mentioned that they're just cleaving through it. The minefield doesn't actually provide a lot of value to Zoo, and that means that they don't end up stalling a lot of time on second point, which now they're heading into third and 3.5 minutes remaining. And on top of that, they've still got ultimates to work with.
Oh, again, losing a member early. Zoo loses Zelda, though they will find a kill on Waya, so a pretty even trade, but then without Lazy, I mean, it's almost impossible for Zoo to really sustain throughout this fight for a long period of time. They're forced to use the Primal Rage. That's another big loss, because really it's just a waste. There was no chance for them to win that fight, and now losing even more resources going into this possibly last fight here, LaFon, with 3 minutes on the clock for T1W.
Zoo are going to have to find massive value out of this EMP and Nano Boost. There is no other way about it, otherwise just straight up lose the map. The Sleep Dart on the Winston's a good start, though.
Sometimes getting a little too crazy in the cage there, but I think that Zookeeper is going to have some regrets there as T1W is just pushing up right on Zoo. And there comes the pile driving Hammond. Umi, though, really has very little support here, just that sound barrier to keep him alive for a little while longer, but death is inevitable here for Zoo as T1W just putting more and more pressure. Again, isolating members of Zoo from each other. There's the individual kill on Umi, individual kill on Lazy. Okoyo and Zelta staggering and getting killed. Jesus Christ. Non-High just spinning to win. But unfortunately, T1W is the one that's going to take the W there. And that's going to be a 2-0 lead for the T1W squad as Zoo faltering yet again on Numbani.
I have to say, it's not this is not unexpected, right? T1W were the better team coming to this matchup. We knew that. We knew Zoo was going to struggle here, but I have to say, seeing Zoo at least have signs of life is very, very good. You don't want to ever come into a match completely beaten before you even start. That's so tough mentally, and for these players, that's always a struggle. You want to come and see, we can actually stand to the level of talent of the players we're playing against. So for Zoo, you got to take the small victories where they lie. They weren't in the maps, but they did have moments where they looked at least up to par in terms of mechanical talent. So for Zoo, you got to go into the half thinking, yeah, we actually did find small moments there. And for T1W, if anything for T1W, you're kind of upset that it wasn't even cleaner than that. Frankly speaking, you let Numbani first go away for frankly no reason. And so T1W, yes, they're winning, but if I'm T1W, I want to be winning even further ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Some bright sides to think about here for Zoo as they move into the second half of the set. Folks, we have the analyst desk to break it down after 2 maps. We saw Control, we saw Hybrid. Now it's time to break it down. Blank, how about you take it away?
Yeah, welcome back to the desk. I have Elbian and Scribe with me. I think the fun hit the nail on the head there is that we were talking about this as well, Scribe, right? That we look at this team and we think to ourselves, look, they dominated LG last week, and now we go against Zoo, and it still seems a little bit like Zoo is putting up a fighting chance, whereas you would have thought that at this point T1W would completely have squashed them by now.
Yeah, I would agree somewhat. I think that the core of this, though, is this is the T1W you're going to expect. I mean, I'm sorry if you came into this season thinking that T1W was going to be this juggernaut of a team. I think they do have these issues with some sort of inconsistency, but at the same time, they bring the same amount of pressure. They play the same way that they would. Super aggressive, hold you in your spawn. They're playing a very kind of aggressive campy style of play that we saw on the LFC last season. I mean, this is a team that knows that no matter at what point in the map, they can take you on in at least an even fight, if not get an advantage with it. So I think this is a team that, for now at least, is going to play a little bit more of that very, very highs and lows team where they're going to drive in and they're going to hope they can camp you out. But more consistently, they're just going to keep winning here. I don't think there's a real difference to change.
Yeah, but on the highs and lows, the low part is sometimes when they're spawn camping, they forget about the enemy's EMP, or they forget about the nano boost, or maybe it's not they forgot, maybe they just don't care. We're not entirely sure, but we saw some of those fights on Numbani, especially when they're.
Oh, I think we have just lost Albion. He's having a couple of difficulties with internet, but he does not have any difficulty breaking these games down whatsoever. But it will now just be me and you, Scribe, on the desk for the time being, at least. And I think one thing that I really do want to highlight, especially from T1W, coming off the back of the lows that Albion was pointing out, T1W, you got to look at the highs there. And I think Silver is one of these players that has just improved from week to week.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I think a lot of people are glossing over, is that in the meta where Gushra has left, right, this giant Winston juggernaut has left the scene. I think there have been a lot of people we've been saying, like, they have a chance to kind of take it over, right? GG Ren, for example, that's the big game that we were talking about, was just like, this is the next Herald. But at the same time, he hasn't looked as consistent. But at the same time, on this T1W team that has not been exactly, praised for its tank play as much, even though by far last season, this is a very strong tank line. I think Silver 3 is at the core of it. He's one of those tanks that enjoys playing Orisa, is willing to play everything at a very high level. And I think at this point, he's going to be someone to look at. And I think he's going to be the driving force for a lot of this T1W pushing forward.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I love to see it. And what I do want to go back to now is Ilios. So we're going past some Numbani, going back to Ilios now. And we see on Lighthouse that immediately T1W pick up the Pharah, and we said that they play these tanks all the time, but they're coming back to the fold well with the DPS versus Zoo. And Zoo is being a little bit uninteresting. We're not seeing the menagerie of all these very cool little compositions they brought out before. Of course, we did see that on Numbani. But Ilios, they just play this 3-3. And I think that T1W, they read them really well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is one of the ways you can beat a 3-3 composition, is if you run Pharah and play at a distance. I think this is kind of exactly where this variation of it is a little tougher. Without running the Reinhardt, you don't have something to hide behind, right? So it kind of means that your Winston's going in with the only protection of a bubble. And I think even in that map, if I'm remembering correctly, they didn't even have a diva in that particular instance.
No.
So this is kind of one of those really tough situations where you can only do so much. And by the time you get to the opponent, right, get dived in the backline trying to get down to Zenyatta, and you immediately chunk down to half health. You never get those clean engagements in. So this is kind of where T1W is this scary team to match up against, right? We talk about the versatility of these players. Molan Run, right? An amazing Pharah player. I think this is by far his strongest carry level player, carry level character. And I think in addition to that, his ability to flex onto the Sombra, right? His ability to play along with Assassin, right? And Mija has just looked like an amazing Zarya player, despite his earlier, attributes as a Doomfist one trick.
I only play Doom.
This is an incredibly interesting team moving forward.
I think things will change from week to week, and come playoffs, we'll see something probably completely different coming out from T1W, because they surprise us every single time so far. I think really for me, I need to see more of, though, is the support line from Zoo, right? And it's almost funny because we see T1W, right, Scribe, and you see the support line doing ridiculous things, and then Zoo just seemed a little bit quiet.
I mean, that's what happens when I feel like you're in a losing matchup. I think supports have a lot harder way to kind of make their way back in.
Yeah.
Especially when you're feeling this kind of pressure. And at the same time, right, it's not exactly that Zoo supports are doing badly. I think that on Numbani, when they were able to push out their spawns and take advantage of these, overextensions by T1W, I think they still look pretty fine. I think they're definitely, a stable core. I think it's a matter of, this is just the matchup here. I mean, I'm not going to expect them to be doing wonderful things against, probably the best team in the region.
And one thing we have seen now from other Chinese teams at the moment is that they lack a little bit of adaptability. Now, Zoo is one of these teams that actually does have this down to almost a pat, in which case they will play something that they want to play beforehand, right, Scribe, and then kind of stay on it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to throw this to Elvion to talk about this a little more. But yeah, I think this is something that they could definitely do. I just wonder, maybe is there a good composition they could have changed to?
Yeah, it's tough. They kind of ended up stuck on this ball Sombra goats-ish thing, and I don't even know what to call it. It's similar to kind of what Laboratory is running a little bit, where you're running the Reinhardt Zarya, but you still have it was
built in a lab, definitely.
Yeah, it was built in a lab for sure. And it's kind of a weird composition, I'll say. It's bad is what it is, because you just get Graviton Surge over and over and over again. Your team just gets hit with every single grab because you
Well, he does. To be fair, he gets a good amount of info in the short amount of time that he does get given. But it's almost perfect because we're going with the Horizon Lunar Colony now. So I mean, Ramsha and LaFon, you can take this one straight back. I'm handing this one back over to you. Take us to the moon.
Thanks, Blank. Welcome back, everybody. I hope Albion has returned to the realm of the living as well. I heard he faded away from our dimension, and that was pretty crazy. But we're on the moon for sure for map number 3 between T1W and Zoo. Now, if you're just joining us, well, where have you been this whole time? It's already match 2 here at Broadcast.gg, but also it's a 2-0 lead here for T1W as we move on to Assault. LaFon, we've already seen 2 maps between these 2 teams. Any expectations coming into this one?
T1W. I mean, that's pretty much the fair thing. I just want just a quick thing on the Albion side. I actually hear he's from the moon, and that's why he has such a tough connection. Yeah, it's a real struggle this time of year. I've heard. I could be wrong. But to T1W versus Zoo, it's going to be T1W taking Horizon Lunar Colony, barring some spectacular miracle of complete outplay. So I'm not expecting, I want Zoo to actually like play a little bit more engaged heavy, try and see if they can actually force T1W off this high ground, break that bunker, I capture the first point. That's going to be the first start for them, and they seem to be playing, pretty aggressively early on.
And, I will say, if we can spread the rumor that Albion is from the moon, I will definitely do so. And might spread some rumors as well. T1W getting some quick kills, and Zoo is definitely realizing that those comments are true as they're getting picked off left and right by Assassin and Molenron. Even Silver 3 get on the board for a few. And this composition making it very hard for Zoo to break through. So much spam damage. Of course, the barrier to boot and the healing there from long range. I mean, T1W really optimized the deal with Zoo so far.
This is a tough one to call because realistically what's happened is you go in, sort of split, and then T1W take advantage of that, and Assassin hits a good shot, and the Matrix there, timing there, finally up in time, but they're going to be slow on the engage, and they're separated already, and as a result, Rapture, they lose a first player.
Yep, Lazy going down. Waya, though, losing their life as well. Molenron with the immediate Riptire turns and helps get the kill on Makoyo. Molenron and Assassin will snowball for the rest of the kill. Silver 3 for an easy res. For Illusion for an easy res on Waya. And T1W, another convincing win, though the pretty swift one. Zoo not losing too much more time.
Again, this is the same thing though, right? Like you go in 1 by 1, and it's like, what's the easiest way to break a composition? Well, if you only have to fight them 1 by 1, they're not. If it's a 6v1 essentially, or 6v2, and T1W is going to win that every single time. Zoo is not making this easy for themselves. They need to find a way to get in as a team and not be split up like this.
We'll figure out if they can do that within these next 2 minutes. Zoo has already been reduced without, halfway, and again, losing their supports before the fight gets started. Lazy going down for the first time in 2 fights in a row. So Molenron, so much effectiveness also Junkrat, and already halfway to another Riptire just popping in the previous fight. So T1W getting ready to hold Zoo potentially for this entire map right here, right now, LaFon. And Zoo is slowly but surely getting to these ultimates, almost too slowly.
Molenron is playing really aggressively, and this is a bit of a weird situation for Zoo. They don't really have the opportunity to shut down a lot of this damage coming through, right? Like, they're not using the Winston barrier to sort of block that line of, like, another early kill there from Waya, and now we're sort of in that weird spot. Umi does take out Molenron Rapture, but again, they're not even being able to really break them out of here.
Yeah, and certainly Cloudy's EMP would have been what Zoo could have used to get on the point and confirm some kills. Instead, not only did I not have the opportunity to use it, but Makoyo was forced to use Primal Rage, and it goes and, essentially gets wasted there. So they don't have it for the next fight, which they might only have 1 clean fight left potentially here, maybe 2 for Zoo. And Cloudy's really have to come through with this EMP. If he goes down early again, T1W could be taking the map right here.
At this point, Assassin has actually lapped Lazy in alt charge. Lazy hasn't been able to even build a sound barrier. He's been picked off first every fight this map so far. So it's a tough place for that support player to be in. But Zoo, they need to break this one through. They need to find a way to come in without damage, and that's probably gonna have to be the start.
I'm gonna say the Riptire though might cut off Zoo at the knees. Nanhai's the only one that goes down though. Zelda was pretty low as well, but doesn't get caught in the crossfire. Makoyo goes down to High B, who's now pulverizing any remaining member of Zoo on the point. Zoo's forced to fall back. Zoo burned every available ultimate to them and nothing to show for it. Now 20 seconds left in the clock, LaFon, and they got to rush to get back onto the point.
The only way they can actually find some sort of victory in this last 20 seconds is if somehow they all play magically together and are so aggressive that T1W just walks off the point because they've got nothing in their ult bank. Lazy's probably going to get the sound barrier for the first time this round, but it seems unlikely, and with Waya's Transcendence, this is going to be, T1W getting very, very close to the victory.
Makoyo just dives right in, gets melted immediately before the rest of Zoo can join them, so already losing that main tank might be too difficult to really maintain on the front line against T1W. And of course, Hy-Vee still has the self-destruct, so really they can keep this tank alive even longer, potentially get kills too. Trying to kill this Lucio. Lucio slipping away, but Zoo's not on the point. They all rush off. It's not Contenders China without a C9 and some ham in mind. So, LaFon, now you've got a taste of Contenders China right there. T1W taking it away, at least on that first attempt from Zoo.
I'm going to give that C9 about a 3 out of 10.
Okay.
Nah, let's make it a 2.5 out of 10 because the fight's already over. They're already like 10 HP.
That's true.
It felt more honestly like Zoo was just like, let's just save our KDA, and they die off point after the round is over. So, Zoo. From Numbani to this, it's tough. It's tough. They looked like they had some life after Numbani, but Horizon Lunar Colony thus far has not been, I think charitably you can call it one-sided. T1W don't even have really that good of an ult economy on this map. Like, fundamentally, they just, throw ultimates out kind of when they get them, or they hold them for a long time, but Zoo make it really, really easy to just, pick them off one by one as they walk in. And if there's a goat of that last round, it's gonna have to be Lazy for me. You can't have your Lucio get picked off. I think twice it was the mine trap combo from Molanron, and then once was just a pick off from I think a headshot from Assassin. So your Lucio dying first and not building beat till the very end of the round. That's as close to passive generation as you can get, I think, on that hero. So it's a tough situation to be in if you're Lazy. Zoo on the defense though, they're gonna try and replicate T1W's strengths. We'll see to how much success they get to. But 4 minutes to hold that first third of Horizon Lunar Colony first, and certainly a tough ask for of Zoo here in this match.
Yeah, and T1W already putting Assassin right in the Tracer, Molanron on the Genji. They're not hesitating. They want to have as much speed as possible. They're going to completely just rush Zoo. And they might even be able to steal away the first third of the point, which is all they need before Zoo can get on them. But Umi gets that first blood on Molanron, and then a nice sleep too. And already Zoo has a 5-3 advantage here to push it through. And T1W getting melted by Cloudy, who's on the Widowmaker. It looks like T1W's, hyper-aggressive strat just not working out the first time.
And here's the thing about Trap from Junkrat, right? If you get caught in it, you are just a sitting target. Even deflect there from Molanron, not enough to save his life, and that basically makes the push fall apart. T1W, they jump in, they're expecting a damage source from the Genji, they don't find it, and they end up falling. But now, again, it's just going to be a reset. T1W come right back into 6, and they're going to set someone up on the point to try and pull him away.
Oh, Cloudy trying to pick off Wyatt before the fight gets started. Lazy and Makoyo go down, though, to Molanron and Illusion, respectively. Zoo, again, losing crucial members of their team before the fight really gets broken out there. I mean, those two supports going down as those early picks in the fight means Zoo could not have any hope of sustaining throughout this fight. And T1W, just like I said, rushing onto the point, steals it away from Zoo as the fight was still going on. And there it is, T1W officially taking the series. They are up 3-0. Now we just have one more map to wrap things up in a bow. We'll see. Can T1W maintain their map differential and take a fourth one, or will a dent be put in by Zoo? LaFon, I mean, that was a mop-up if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, that's as clean as you like, honestly. Like, even with the headshots from Cloudy, not really a whole lot you can do. It actually ended up that the tanks from T1W went to get the mega health pack to actually sustain themselves in the fight. But when you lose your supports, you don't really have any mobility, you don't have any sort of cooldowns left, and Zoo at the mercy of T1W at the end of Horizon Lunar Colony. And as you mentioned, they do take that 3-0 victory. Now it's a formality. That fourth map score is important, though. So they're going to be playing for that. And here we get to see a little replay of, some snipers. Cloudy comes in with the headshot, gets a nice close range one, too. So some highlights there for sure for, okay, maybe not that last one there, but if you're Cloudy, you take the good, with the bad. And there have been good moments there for him in this matchup. you can't. It's tough to how much more can we say about Zoo, right? It's the mistakes they're making or the struggles they're having are consistent. So the things that we said at the start of this match remain the same here in this third and fourth map. And for T1W, I think some of the concerns we had on Numbani are kind of, reduced here after we see what they do on Horizon Lunar Colony Rapture. It's, at least to me, it seems.
Yeah. You know what else it seems to me? I think T1W, I think they're a team that prefers the aquarium more than the zoo. And I think we'll have to check back with them on that one as we go into map 4. But we have to go to a quick break, so don't go anywhere. More Overwatch Contenders China Season 3 2018 Week 4 Day 2 coming your way here on Broadcast.gg on the other side of this quick break.
Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. Yeah, you can take me there. I try to get by, something that I'm not into. My mind is paralyzed. Don't care, I just might pack my bags and take off tonight. Don't need the pressure from ya. No need to put that on me. Just need some fresh air to breathe. Feels like a movie, everybody's watching, all eyes on me. Easy to see if I'm winning or losing when all eyes on me. I don't need a lot, I'm good with change in my pocket. My way ain't perfect, it's mine, so that seems worth it, right? Don't need that pressure from ya. No need to put that on me. Just need some fresh air to breathe. Feels like a movie, everybody's watching, all eyes on me. Easy to see if I'm winning or losing when all eyes on me. special from you.
Welcome back, Overwatchers, to our fourth and final map of this series between T1W and Zenith of Optimism Zoo. It will be Dorado, and the set score is currently 3-0 as we move into the Dorado. I'm Rapture here with LaFon. LaFon, T1W and Zoo. It's 3-0 for T1W. They've got the set. Now it's up to Zoo. Can they screw up their map differential? Do you think it's likely?
I have never met a team, or I've never heard of a team, rather, with a name that has an initialism or an acronym that is more opposite of its actual meaning than Zoo versus Zenith of Optimism. So that's a long way of saying no.
All right.
Unfortunately for Zoo, this has
Okay.
been a bit of a struggle, which, again, to put it in perspective, it's not like we didn't expect this, but yeah, no, for Zoo, it has been a tough match so far, and I think for T1W, it's a little bit more of the same. Can you continue to be the better team? And I think for T1W, you've already won the set. You should probably just go as hard as you can and try and full hold here on Dorado and see what you can do to try and make this even more of a stomp. For Zoo, bring out the crazy wacky stuff. Let's just see something cool, man. I mean, it's 3-0 already. May as well.
Yeah, it seems like we're missing out on some of the wackiness we usually see at Chinese contenders, like the Maze, the Bastions, the Torbs. Both of these teams keeping it pretty textbook, and T1W's Molinron gets that right click on Cloudy. Cloudy kind of got a little too aggressive with that fire, going all the way down, dropping altitude a little too egregiously there, and they will get picked off. T1W, a full cleanup in 30 seconds on Zoo, teaching them and showing to Zoo who means business out here.
I think the one highlight is that Wyatt did actually die there, so they do trade that out. Unfortunately, 1 to 4 is not a good trade, so Zoo maybe learn greater than symbols in this regard. But no, realistically speaking, they're going to try and re-engage here. Zoo going to switch to the Goats comp, into the Goats comp, so T1W going to try and take this team fight, but it looks like we are going to have a quick pause here, likely some technical difficulties, which we will try and get resolved as quickly as possible, or until then. I mean, Rapture, we've kind of been like ragging you on Zoo a little bit, and I think it's kind of
Well, whoa, let's
okay.
back it up there.
I have
Pump the
absolutely
brakes.
done so. I have absolutely,
All right.
but I mean, I think it's fair to understand why. The question then is for Zoo, what can they do to get better? And it's tough to say because we're in the fourth map here. Do you see them, sort of turning this one back, like winning this map out?
Well, I will say that in these situations, the maps that teams like Zoo usually win are the fourth maps of a series. So if anything, this is probably the most likely time they are going to take us, a map. Pretty often teams will kind of like, in T1W situation, maybe, run a composition they don't really care about, or we'll let them play a little longer, or we won't really try as hard. And they kind of let it slip a little through their fingers and give up a map in this fourth map situation. They've already won the series. So like with that in, mind, I could say Zoo probably take it. But other than that, I mean, I don't think we're going to see anything different that we've seen in the previous 3 maps. T1W has just been outplaying Zoo, beating them in the ult charge gain race. They're, ahead in positioning, and we're going back into the map here on Dorado. I think we're going to see more of that from T1W. Already they have a significant lead on Zoo. They've already taken out a full minute off their push. They're playing very aggressively. They're ahead in ultimate charge. So, I mean, this has just been classic T1W as we've seen throughout the series, throughout Contenders China, throughout the season. And hopefully they don't overextend, at least in their case, too hard here. But as they do, they get 1 kill. They are trading 5v4 situations for Zoo. Like I said, this is really a situation where I think it's not necessarily Zoo's map to win, but T1W's map to lose.
T1W going to retreat very aggressively there off the back of those comments. They commit the self-destruct to get the remake. They want to actually come back in. They're actually going to get a contest here as the cart hits that choke, and they're still going to be able to get the high ground advantage of this fight. So for T1W, they lose that first point, but they're going to walk right back in with that Earth Shatter.
Oh, and Misha also has the Graviton, not gonna have to burn it. Transcendence used by Zelta, but it can't keep the team alive. At the very least, it'll at least get Zelta back to spawn, but it doesn't even do that much. Zoo losing yet another minute off the clock. They do have some tools in the toolbox for this next fight, and actually are keeping phase. They may even have a lead at ult charge here, LaFon, but is it enough to hold off T1W.
From the Zoo that we've seen so far, I don't think so. They do end up here rallying early. They need to get this combo off. This self-destruct Graviton Surge needs to be big because otherwise they don't really have a whole lot in terms of team wipe potential. And the Graviton Surge coming out from T1W.
Ooh, and the sound barrier did get placed by Lazy at the same time as that Graviton. Oh, and look at that, the self-destruct Graviton combination. That's probably the best Zoo's looked all series. Non-high with 3.5 off that self-destruct. And finally, a ray of sunshine here for Zoo as they're moving this payload forward. There might be a contest here for T1W, but otherwise Zoo might be getting their first checkpoint.
I'm gonna be the opposite of a breath of fresh air. I'm gonna say they're gonna contest here T1W. They're gonna come in with the sound barrier rapture, trying to win this one right back into their favor.
Here we go. Earth Shatter from Silver 3 is online. Might not need to activate it. In fact, Molinar and High Beat kind of stealing their thunder, and Silver 3 is gonna back off. T1W holding Zoo just under 2 meters from the point. Just a couple kills, Zoo could have pushed it through, but T1W takes control at 30 seconds left here, LaFon. Such an awful position for Zoo to be in.
Yeah, I think the one thing Zoo did well is they did have that combo grab self-destruct, which was clean. Unfortunately, they then, sort of gave up space and then T1W walk in. And I think off the back of literally just sound barrier and self-destruct win the fight out. So T1W,
Oh man, there's the Earth Shatter we were waiting for from Silver 3. Looks like Mikoyo also threw down the Earth Shatter as well, and that stunned the Diva and gave an opportunity to kill Molinar as well. So Zoo seeing a little bit of optimism. They farmed a bit of it, but T1W trying to end that right here, right now. There's a Transcendence ushering T1W forward. Illusion gets the kill. Michia getting close to another Graviton. Gonna hit Q on that one close. Here comes another one. Self-destruct Graviton combination from Zoo, but Non-High only gets one this time. Overtime ticking away with T1W having the player advantage on the payload. And there it is, LaFon. T1W stopping Zoo at the fountain, like we've seen in Contenders China time and time again. Teams getting halted at the fountain, at the waterworks. And now T1W setting themselves up for success. All they got to do is make it to the fountain, and they'll take this series 4-0.
it is not a tall ask of T1W to get there either, Rapture. It looks like a foregone conclusion. I mean, things can happen differently, but from what we've seen so far, this is T1W's map, and therefore 4-0 to lose. If you're T1W, right, you have to be happy with how you come back into fights, even when you're down 2 and 3 players. I think they lose Molan Run early, I believe. Makuo does get the shoulder charge off on the Brigitte, but it's not enough to win that fight back in your favor. And for Zoo, the bright spots have been that Cloudy has looked good, but looking good doesn't get you wins. And right now for Zoo, it's tough. It's really, really tough here because there are games where, you kind of say, okay, we're going to kind of like move on from this one. But for Zoo, that's been their, season so far. So it's tough to, you don't want to overstate too much for it. But I mean, it has been a struggle this season for Zoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Cloudy's situation, it kind of feels like they're really good at plugging some of the holes in the ship, but there are still 100 other holes of, leaking water, and Cloudy can't really plug them all. So for right now, I think Zoo definitely has some bright spots, but unfortunately, I don't think it's enough to cultivate a true playoff bid here in this season of Contenders China, whereas, of course, T1W already confirmed for playoffs. This is pretty much a formality for them. Not only this map, but really the series. I mean, sure, the map differential is important, but they have made it to playoffs, and certainly they could make it to finals no matter where they end up getting seeded. And now we're going to see what Zoo can do on the defensive hold against T1W. And Cloudy does get first blood, finds Silver 3 as Silver 3 was looking for the dive on the high ground. They get denied immediately, and T1W not going to, waste too much time here. Going to fall back just a little bit, poke for some more ult charge, but otherwise wait for Silver 3 to get back into the fray.
I think that jump from Silver 3 was an interesting piece of bait from Zoo. They put Zelta up there, and then they camped with Umi with the Brigitte, and then Cloudy comes in for the cleanup, but won the fight off that basically by themselves. A nice little piece there by Zoo's, so T1W to continue this fight, though. They're taking a ton of damage here from Cloudy in this air.
Yeah, and as a result, Cloudy does pick up the barrage. That gets the attention of Silver 3 yet again. Cloudy not letting it loose. Mikoyo finds one of Waya. 5v5 situations. Mikoyo goes down to high beat. There's the barrage. No idea who they're looking for, but the self-destruct also comes down. That doesn't land pay dirt either. Zoo just letting these Q buttons get pressed and no one being found. Both Cloudy and Non-High's ultimates not going to find anybody. So now T1W kind of easily push them back here, or at least, try and isolate the remainder of Zoo. They do so without burning pretty much anything other than the rally. And now this checkpoint is within their sights. It's within their grasp, LaFon. I'm not sure what more Zoo can do here.
Zoo are going to commit the sound barrier, but at this matter, it is a formality. As we said earlier, the rally, the only ultimate online, and with that, the cleanup crew is here. Umi are going to be body blocked out, and though they are going to get a contest, it is unlikely to mean much of anything at the end. And Rapture, as they clean up the kills, T1W will take this one. And it will be that 4-0 that we highlighted earlier, T1W.
And there we go. T1W now at 4-0 in their record. Another 4 maps under the belt for them. They're certainly cruising through the season of Overwatch Contenders China Season 3 2018. Zoo getting bodied again, another 4 maps. But we have to bring in the desk one more time. That's it for me and LaFon. I'm going to throw it over to Blank now to break it down one last time. Take it away.
Hello again, ladies and gents. We're back. It's the Analysts desk. We have Scribe and Albion. Hopefully, Albion is going to be able to stay here for a little bit longer this time before he inevitably disappears. But we do have some analysis for you now. This last map went over in a blink of an eye. We saw Horizon Lunar Colony also go in a blink of an eye, and a few more C9s here and there. But that's just China. The point does not matter. None whatsoever, right? Okay. But one thing we've got to talk about is just this interesting dynamic between the GOATS composition on Route 66 in particular, where you can give up a fight early and still be able to get that full hold Scribe.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like, on Dorado and escort maps in general, I think this is kind of some style of play that you can use, right? Like if you play tank compositions and continue to die on point, delaying the fight, and if you continue winning the fight, even pushing your hold even forward, right? So just that time that you take and kind of force the enemy team to offense at this point to get to the cart and start that process rolling again, it's an extremely big waste of time. I think this is exactly like some of the earlier compositions we saw, like dive compositions did this, and I think like a few years, not a few years ago, but a few months ago, when Rogue was still a thing, right? They used to do this all the time. They would continuously take these dive composition fights on point, die there, and as long as they can continue taking these fights, they can drain the time out the clock, and they only have to win that last one in order to get the full hold.
Yeah, we saw T1 doing exactly that, right? They lost the fight. They died to the grav bomb kind of towards the beginning of that point on Dorado. And by the time the cart got to the end of first point, there was only 50 seconds left. They wasted over 3 minutes, and they didn't even necessarily win that many fights.
And it took them 3 minutes to get all of those ultimates up and ready, just to make that final push. And by that time, like Alvin says, you only 50 seconds remaining, and T1W are in a very good spot to unleash some ultimates. Their own sound barrier goes out first, and they take them down that way. One thing I would like to talk about now, though, Albion, is the way that Silver plays really enables the rest of his team. Because obviously this guy, I think Scribe, you were talking about this a lot as well, is that he can play Orisa, and he's also probably one of the better Reinhardts in the region, if not the best, because this just creates so many mix-ups for them, right?
Yeah, he is definitely one of the better Reinhardts. He had a little hiccup on Dorado where his whole team was in a grav bomb, and he pins away. Instead of blocking the bomb, it was purposeful. He got the 1 trade kill for the 4 kills of the bomb. It worked out. Yeah, no, Silver 3 has been a player who he came in last season, and he slowly improved last season, and he's just keeps getting better and better. And especially when he is on that Winston, actually, he's making so much space for his team. He is working really well. But I think one of the things that's actually really interesting to note for Silver is not only how he's playing himself, but he's synergizing really well with his diva player as well, and they're just making so much damn space on the front.
Yeah, like bouncing off of that, right? Like Hybe, like last year, as Unhappy, this was a kind of a developing tank clan where in a region that does seem to be lacking a little more of that diva presence right now. I think that with MG back there, I think there's new competition there for the best diva player there. But for right now, though, Hybe has been playing so well, especially looking at the composition that they ran on first point on Horizon. It's a composition where you don't really see the diva doing a lot besides kind of like shepherding, using defense picture to kind of cut off these dives into the backline, but continuously Hybe staying alive, being in the right places, dropping bombs when absolutely needed. And I think that this ability for him to continue to stay alive, continue to add all this value, and as well as exerting that diva pressure in general, is what makes this team definitely look a lot stronger.
Now, last question to both of you, and I think that it needs to be said, right? T1W is now the first seed of their group. They are the monsters of the monsters, right? And I think the way that we've got to look at this is there was some inconsistency during that the first couple of maps, right? Versus Zoo, who arguably is probably the worst in this group, right? I'm going to put this to both of you. We'll start with you, Scribe. Do you think that inconsistency is going to come back to bite them come playoffs, or do you think this is a team that's just going to roll on through?
I mean, this is exactly what we talked about first half, right? This is the T1W you're going to get. They're going to play a little aggressive and they're going to get punished for it. But at the same time, they always manage to turn out wins. Because as much as we want to say, like, yeah, like this teams are inconsistent. I mean, they still finished today 4-0. And that's not the same you can say with Flag Gaming that ends up dropping their map 4. I mean, this is a team that as inconsistent as they can be. I think they always have the ability to pull it out in the end. I think they really strive off of team fighting. And this is one of the rare teams that has the mechanical ability also behind great shot calling.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. I think T1W, the way that we've been talking about it a lot through this, between T1 and Team CC, T1 is the kind of the mechanics team, like Scribe says. They're the ones who kind of clutch out fights out of nowhere. And I think that come playoffs, they'll also take it a little bit more seriously, to be completely honest. We saw that earlier in the season, like when they played 666 Legend on Route 66, they played Solo Tank Zarya Quad DPS, and they were it gave off the impression that they're messing around a little bit. And in week 1, you know, Silver 3, their main tank was playing Genji on the 4th map of Dorado, right? And, you know, there's maybe a little bit of T1W knows how good they are, and maybe they're not taking it as seriously as they have to be. But I think in turn, when they play a better opponent, like we saw them against Lingon last week, they showed up and they played GOATs, and they played a very serious composition, and they played it very well. So I think that come next week when they play Team CC and come playoffs, I think they're going to be, you know, kind of full steam ahead. And I think T1's going to look really strong.
Yeah, a bit of super serious sound coming out from them when they do come against these big teams. But something that is also serious is probably this next series that we've got coming up. It is LGD versus Lucky Future. I think it's a map that can go either way. But we will take a short break before that one. So don't go anywhere, because we will be back with that to finish off this Day 2, Week 4, Chinese Contenders Season 3. We'll catch you very, very soon.